Good afternoon. This is Tony Cherniawski with the Practical Investor, LLC. Today is December the 3rd, 2008, and the title of my program is, I Use Head and Shoulders, Do You? No, I'm not talking about the shampoo. I'm actually talking about a technical analysis term that's used to calibrate where the market might go given certain conditions. What brought this back up was my last week's analysis of the banking index, the BKX, and the comments that I got back asking whether my second head and shoulders pattern was a valid one or not. Now, let me just be clear. I got this information from a book. It had almost an identical head and shoulders pattern that was used that inspired me to use the head and shoulders pattern on the BKX the way presented last week. Frankly, I was a little bit uncomfortable with it. I won't mention the name of the text. And one of the reasons is because the author does play a little bit fast and loose with some of his images. So what I want to do is just go back to the BKX, which I did earlier this week, and do a more thorough analysis to make sure that there might not be a better fit. So let's do that right now, and we'll discuss what we saw. Well, first of all, my original head and shoulders pattern is the line in red. Let's attack that momentarily, and then we'll talk about the rest of the pattern that we see here. The line in red touched the right shoulder at 58.48. The top of the head was 83.43. That gave a product of 24.95. If you subtract that 24.95 from 58.48, the product of that is 33.53. Thus, we had a head and shoulders target earlier in November of 33.53, which we met by having the BKX go all the way down to 32.96 on November 21st. Target hit. So the point that I'm making here is that there's yet another target involved, and I believe that we now have it with the expanding triangle program. Now, why did I put the expanding triangle? Why didn't I just put the bottom line in? Well, what inspired me to put the entire expanding triangle in is two reasons. Number one, the expanding triangle pattern often happens at market tops and market bottoms. As a result, there are several analysts that think that this expanding triangle is the market trying to put in a bottom right here. Now, they might be correct, so we need to allow a little bit of room for that. However, the head and shoulders pattern says possibly otherwise, that things might not quite have bottomed out yet. So let's do the analysis on the new head and shoulders using the blue diagonal trend line. You can see we've got some perfect hits here for the BKX, and let's go at it right now. First of all, the head again is at 83.43. The new hit on the new neckline is at 46.68. If we subtract that from 83.43, you get a product of 36.75. Subtract 36.75 from 46.68, and you come up with a product of 9.93. That is the new target. Now, let's talk about probabilities here. What are the probabilities of this happening? First of all, at this point, I would have to assign this a 0 probability, although the so-called neckline that I was using last week is very intriguing because the neckline's at 45. We came through back underneath the neckline on Monday, and guess where we ended this afternoon? We ended up right at 44.93, just below the 45-point neckline. Very intriguing. So that may still have some very real possibilities. Let's not rule that out. However, having said that, let's go back to the diagonal head and shoulders pattern here. And if we take 83.43, subtracting the 46.68, we come up with a product of 36.75. Subtract that again from 46.68, and the result is 9.93. Very interesting. So the possibilities are that once the BKX drops back below 40, then the probability of this head and shoulders pattern succeeding rises to about 92%. Now, the probability of actually meeting or exceeding its goal, its target of 993, is about 67%. So in other words, we have a 2 out of 3 chance that it'll actually come back all the way to the $9.93 or beyond, as I'm talking here tonight. So those are pretty good odds, and that's the kind of analysis that we do to understand what the markets might do in the near term. Let's take this to the Standard & Poor's now and decide what are we looking at here. Again, we also have an expanding triangle. We have a very beautiful, well-developed head and shoulders pattern. I'm going to be conservative and use the last hit at 838. I'm sorry, 1869. If we subtract that from 1,007.51, your product is 188.82. Subtract that again from 818.69, and you get a target of 629.87. Let's just call it 630. So again, using this analysis, if the Standard & Poor's drops below roughly 790, below the lower trend line, the chances of the head and shoulders pattern completing, in other words, getting more downside, is about 92%, and the actual chance of it going all the way to 630 or beyond is actually about 67% again. So having said that, I just want to say this market has been very dangerous. It has had a lot of fake outs. It's hurt a lot of people on both sides, both bulls and bears. So this a lot of due care needs to be made here in making any kind of investment decision. At the same time, I am not making any recommendations about any investment products to buy or sell at this point. I don't intend to on a YouTube video as well. The SEC tells us that you cannot invest directly in an index, and that's correct. There are financial products that mimic indexes, but you cannot invest directly. So you will not get the exact same experience as you would just looking at the index. Finally, one of the things that I want to say is that there is a possibility that the targets could go beyond the ones that I've mentioned. And I'm going to save that analysis for another video at some point down the road. I believe that the market is being misanalyzed by a lot of people. For one, feel that correction can be in order even on my work. I'm not perfect, and in a way, I think that's good. We need to sharpen each other up a little bit here. So, having said that, I want to wish all of you some very happy holidays, and by all means, please do the right thing.